Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom.
We're going to be talking about fire safety for the next couple of programs. Fire safety is very important because you might be thinking, oh, I'll never be in a fire. I don't really have to learn this stuff, do I? I used to think that. I grew up in a single-family home, not an apartment building, but at one point in my life, I was living in a big building with lots of apartments, and we had a real fire. And I remember thinking, what am I supposed to do? Oh, I don't remember. And when you get nervous, you really forget things that you've been taught. So this is something that you should probably listen to carefully and also review every once in a while so that if you do get stuck in a fire, you'll know what to do to keep yourself safe.
Yeah, you want to keep yourself safe, of course, but you don't want to lose your valuable property as well, including your house, but maybe some invaluable things like computer files or
photographs,
documents and stuff like that, or maybe some cash you've got hidden under your bed or something like that. So, yes, indeed, you should know about fire safety. It's still a real problem. It could happen to you, so you need to know the facts, and we're going to try to tell you about some things that we've learned about how to prevent fires and what to do in case there is a fire. So let's get to it, everybody. Let's read the entire contents of our article, Fire Safety. Know the facts.
The thought of a fire threatening your home and life can be frightening. However, there are a number of ways to make house fires less likely and less dangerous. Here are some ways to safeguard your home. 1. Maintain smoke alarms. Smoke alarms should be installed on every level of a home and in every bedroom. Clean and replace their batteries once a year, and replace the alarms entirely every 10 years. 2. Use appliances safely. A hot meal or warm room feels great, but also requires a little extra attention. Keep flammable materials away from stoves, ovens, space heaters, and fireplaces, and make sure not to leave hot appliances or candles unattended. 3. Plan your escape routes. Know and practice at least 2 ways out of your home. If you have a physical disability that might make escape harder, let your neighbors and the fire department know. 4. Maintain your home utilities. Have technicians check your electrical wiring and gas lines on a regular basis. Also, keep vents, fans, and appliances clean and free of dust, as it may cause overheating that can lead to fire. As with any potential danger, prevention is key when it comes to house fires. Being attentive and keeping up your home are simple actions that could spare you terrible heartache in the long run.
Okay, let's jump right in here and talk about fire safety. Know the facts. And again, we're reminding everybody that fires are still out there. We can still hear the sirens of fire trucks on a daily basis sometimes. So yes, indeed, fire seems to catch on easily in a lot of places. And there are a lot of ways that fires can start. Maybe somebody's smoking and didn't put their cigarette out, or there's lightning or bad wiring in your house. There are different ways for fires to start, so be careful. And the thought of a fire threatening your home and life can be frightening. It can be scary. Yes, indeed, it can be something that will cause you to lose sleep at night. So, yes, indeed, imagine if your house caught on fire. You might lose everything, and then where would you go? Where would you live? You'd be in big trouble.
You really would. Now, it says here there are a number of ways to make house fires less likely and less dangerous. Here are some ways to safeguard your home. Safeguard is a verb we use when we want to talk about doing something to make a situation or some sort of object. Here we're talking about our houses, of course. Doing something to prevent something bad from happening. You never want to have a fire. The worst fire I was in, I've been in... I've been in 3 now, 2 in Taiwan and 1 in New York. And the one in New York was so bad that I couldn't go back to my apartment for about a month. The smoke damage was awful. I had to throw away all my clothes. It was horrible. It was because somebody on a different floor had been smoking and gone to sleep. And because of this person's negligence or not being careful enough, it affected everyone. So be kind to your neighbors. In Taiwan, we had an electrical fire, which can happen quite easily.
That reminds me, my wife said that there was a fire where she grew up. She grew up in a jiancun. I don't know how to say that in English, but yes, somebody fell asleep smoking a cigarette and it caused a fire in the community. And my wife's family lost a lot of stuff, including family photos, which is invaluable. So yeah, be careful with those fires. You can not only harm yourself, but other people who live around you. So yeah, it can be frightening when you think about a fire causing problems for you. However, there are a number of ways to make house fires less likely and less dangerous. So yeah, there are ways to prevent those house fires, or at least make them less likely. You can't totally prevent them. Fires will find a way to get burning, but yeah, we can kind of prevent them to a certain degree, and here are some ways to safeguard your home. So here we've got the word safeguard. That's both a noun and a verb here, but we're using it as a verb in this sentence. It just basically means you protect against something harmful, okay? So you make sure that something bad does not happen. You safeguard your home. You take all the measures that are necessary. You could safeguard your car as well to make sure that it doesn't have a fire or doesn't have any problems and stuff like that. You just make something safe.
Now, the first tip here is to maintain smoke alarms. Most people know what smoke alarms are. They're typically found in the kitchen area. Mine will go off if I'm frying something and there's too much smoke. So you should maintain those. To maintain means to keep something in good condition. So smoke alarms all work on battery power. So those batteries don't last forever. You need to put in new batteries every year. And also, our article has another tip, which I think is smart. Every 10 years, you should replace all your smoke alarms in your house. So there might be a smoke alarm in the kitchen, in your bedroom, in the bathroom. You need to have as many smoke alarms as you can that will keep you safe. Now, some apartment buildings, I think all floors above the 10th floor in Taiwan all have... not smoke alarms, but they have the water system.
Sprinklers?
Yeah, the sprinkler system that comes on if there's a fire. I live on the 7th floor, so I don't have that in my apartment. But if you live above the 10th floor, by law, they have to install a sprinkler system, which will turn on in a fire.
Do you have smoke alarms in your apartment?
I do, yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay, did you put them in yourself or did your landlord do that for you?
It's my doorman. I love him. My landlord had one, but the batteries were old, so my doorman will come in and help me change my lights and my batteries because they're kind of high.
Yeah, and that's pretty important here in Taiwan because it is quite humid here. So batteries can corrode pretty easily, so you need to replace them once a year. I would say in some parts of Taiwan, you should replace them every half year.
Wow.
I've heard of people complaining about electronics corroding on Yamingshan there because of all the sulfur in the air there.
Wow.
So yeah, you got to be careful about that kind of stuff. So you do need to clean the batteries and change them at least once a year. And yes, you should replace the alarm entirely every 10 years. So yeah, get rid of the alarm itself every 10 years and change the batteries once a year, generally speaking. Now let's move on to the second tip here. Use appliances safely. Okay, we're talking about appliances here. Those are special machines or a piece of equipment in your home that does a specific task or performs a certain task, like your refrigerator or your stove or your oven, especially the stove and the oven because they have flames there and they have heat, which could cause fires.
Yeah, anything, usually an appliance is something that you find in the kitchen, typically at least. A toaster would be an appliance. So you need to use those safely. A hot meal or warm room feels great, but you also need to pay a little bit more attention to these appliances. The next sentence, it says keep flammable materials away from things like stoves, ovens, space heaters. Yeah, you got to be careful with those. And fireplaces. A lot of times if you look at a tag on the collar of a piece of clothing, you'll see a message or something written on it. If you see flammable, it means it starts or it can catch fire very easily. On infant clothing, I've noticed they all have non-flammable, or on stuffed teddy bears or stuffed animals that little kids use, it will be non-flammable or not. It's not easy to catch on fire. It doesn't catch on fire easily. So keep those materials away from things that have sparks, and make sure not to leave hot appliances or candles unattended. I've heard of people falling asleep with candles still lit.
Ooh.
That's very dangerous, guys. Be very careful. You know, a lot of our friends listening have, what do you call those, altars in their homes where they often have incense. Be careful with those. And before you go to bed, make sure everything is out.
That's true. That would probably be one of the reasons why you would light a candle. Some people like to have candle-lit dinners. They might be romantic for your partner or something like that. Or they could be used for religious purposes, as you said. So yeah, before you go to bed, make sure you blow those candles out. I guess you're not supposed to blow out religious candles. You're supposed to make them go out with your hand or something like that. But that's another topic for another day. We're going to take a break right now, and we'll come back in just a couple of minutes to talk about some more tips on how to prevent a house fire.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们今天要来谈谈火灾。其实一听到火灾，大概就会有一点感到害怕。而第一句当中的 the thought of a fire， 在这句话当中就有一个简化的关系子句。它的先行词是 the thought of a fire， 那么关系词从 threatening 一直到后面的 life 这个地方 threatening 它其实是 that threatens 这个关系词跟动词的一个简化。当然这种想法令人感到很害怕，但是还是有一些方法在火灾发生之前，你可以让火灾并不那么常发生，可以减少火灾的一种可能性。所以我们在第二句话当中看到有一个关键字叫做 less likely。likely 这个字特别注意哦，它是一个形容词，它跟像啊喜欢一点关系都没有，它的意思是 possible 可能的意思。不过 likely 这个字它很好用，因为 likely 的主词可以是人，比如说我们很可能会赢耶，你可以说 we're likely to win。 那么 possible 的话呢，主词就只能是事物或者是虚主词了。所以到底有什么样的方式能够在火灾之前就做一个预防呢？我们先看第一点，当然家里都会装烟雾探测器 smoke alarms， 那这个烟雾探测器是要保养的哦。注意保养这个字在第一点当中 maintain 它指的是让事物的品质维持不下降，所以烟雾探测器要保养。要怎么样保养呢？每年都要清洁更换电池，每10年就把这个 smoke alarm 完全的换掉。第二点的话呢，则是要很安全的使用家电。家电这个字在英文当中，我们看到第二点的第一句 appliance， 它特别指的是像是厨具还有洗衣机之类，通常是用电的一种设备或者是机器。当然我们会喜欢热腾腾的一餐，我们也喜欢温暖的房间，可是要多一点点的注意，多一点点的 attention， 注意要让易燃物远离火炉、烤箱、电暖炉还有壁炉。我们在第二点的地方的第三句看到 flammable 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 指的是容易燃烧的，那么它的名词原型是 flame Flame 也就是火焰的意思。而且最重要的是啊，要确保不要让发烫的家电或者是蜡烛无人看管哦。我们在这个第二点的最后一句话当中看到一个动作叫做 attend ATTEND， 其实 attend 是完全付出心力很仔细的注意的意思，所以在句子当中的 leave something unattended 就变成是让什么什么无人看管之意。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about fire safety for the next two programs. Fire safety is so important, so I'm glad we're focusing a little bit of time on this. Notice it's our Suyang unit, which just means we're going to be focusing our English learning on everyday life things that people need to know about. So this is a great unit to practice talking about fire safety, how to keep your home safe, what to do in case you are in a fire.Sadly, in this world, we'll have gone through at least one fire before we die. It's really easy for fires to start because a lot of times it's just those electric wires. For example, at Christmas in America, we have a lot of Christmas trees that catch fire. You know, they have those little electric lights all around, and it's beautiful.I like to keep the lights on all night when I was a little girl, but my mom would say, gotta unplug the lights before we go to bed on the Christmas tree because you never know, a fire could start. So be careful with things in your homes. Make sure that everything is turned off. If you have candles, make sure they're out before you go to sleep.Yep,
that's part of our advice here. We talked about maintaining those smoke alarms. Make sure they still work. Change the batteries and change the alarm itself every 10 years. And you also need to use those household appliances safely. You know, keep them away from, or keep flammable materials away from open flames on your stove or whatever. And here's our third bit of advice.Plan your escape routes. A route here just refers to a road or a way you get from point A to point B. So, yeah, know where you're supposed to go if a fire starts, okay? If you live in an apartment in a city, there might be a couple of ways out of your apartment through the main door or maybe out the balcony, which is no good if you live like on the 20th floor or something like that. But still, you need to figure out how to get out of your house in case a fire starts.Yeah,
I'm on the 7th floor and I have a little balcony. There's a piece of equipment there that if there's a fire, I can sort of use that equipment to get out the window, but I don't really know how to use it. So this is a good reminder. I should probably ask my doorman to teach me how to use it. I'm not even sure if it's still good because it's kind of rusty, you know? Something's rusty, it's metal that's been in. It's got a lot of weather.damage to it. You know, it's so humid here. Yeah, need to know how you're going to make your escape. So you have to practice as well. I bet you've had fire drills at work, some of our listeners. I was at 101 one day and it was a fire drill. And I thought, oh, what a pain. But you know what? You have to practice with that many people. And with the building being so tall, you have to find a way to get out safely. And the more you practice, the better you will be in real danger.
Yeah, imagine if Taipei 101 caught on fire.
What a mess.
Yeah, it would be just like that old movie, The Towering Inferno.
Yeah.
Maybe you remember that from many years ago. But yeah, that is a real possibility. I'm sure 101 will never catch on fire. But still, you never know. So yeah, you need to plan your escape routes and know where you're supposed to go. And if you have have a physical disability, if you're handicapped, for example, if you have difficulty walking or something, or if you're blind or whatever, and those things might make escape harder or more difficult for you, well, then you need to let your neighbors and the fire department know about this. So talk to the fire department or the fire brigade, the local office, and say, hey, I live at such and such an address, and I have this physical disability. So, yeah, if there's a fire, you guys just need to know about this so that you have a better chance of rescuing me if we have a fire.
We had an elderly lady on the top floor of the building I live in, and we had a plan that if there was a fire, and there was, that there were a couple of different neighbors, depending on who was home at the time, would go to her house and help her go down the stairs because going down the stairs when you're 90 years old is quite difficult. So, yeah, those things are really important. Now, the last one says, maintain your home utilities. When you talk about utilities, you're talking about your water, your gas, your electric, all of those things. Every month we pay rent, but we also pay our utility bill. Utilities can also include your telephone bill too. So you have to maintain your home utilities. Make sure the wiring in your home is in good shape. Now, there's another piece of advice here. Have technicians check the electrical wiring and gas lines on a regular basis. So a technician is someone who has been trained specifically to handle things like plumbing, wiring, things that are more hands-oriented and not so much, a white-collar job, which is someone who sits in an office all day. Technicians have been trained to work with specific pieces of equipment.
Exactly. So, yeah, a plumber is a kind of technician, an electrician is a kind of technician, etc. And the technician I can think of is an EMT, emergency medical technician. Those are the people who work in ambulances and go to the scenes of accidents and bring people to the hospital.
We call them paramedics, too.
Paramedics, yes, that's probably the more common term. But, yeah, these are all examples of people with special skills.
Yeah.
They're technicians. And so have them come to your house and check your electrical wiring and your gas lines on a regular basis. And this does sound like good advice because the home in which I live is probably at least maybe 40 years old or so. So yes, the wiring probably hasn't been checked in a long time. It might be getting loose or something like that, and it probably will come in contact with wood or something like that. It could cause a fire. So yes, I should call a technician over and do this on a regular basis. Okay, do it regularly, like say once a year or once every 2 years or something like that.
Yeah, this is great advice. Regular basis. We use this phrase a lot. I like to go get my hair trimmed on a regular basis. Or, I like to go and take a nice vacation over the weekend on a regular basis. I can't do it every weekend. But yeah, quite frequently. But make sure those things are checked out. You've also got vents, fans, and appliances that you need to keep free of dust. Wow, do we collect dust in Taipei? It takes very few days for my fan to collect a lot of dust, or my air conditioner. I have to clean those screens in the air conditioning unit quite frequently. A vent is an opening that allows air, sometimes gas, to come out or liquid to pass out into the space there. So a vent, for example, if you look up in your room somewhere, you might have a heating vent that you can see, or an air conditioning vent where the air comes out from. Keep those things clean and free of dust, because if they overheat, that can sometimes start a fire. So be careful with those.
Okay, let's take a look at the final paragraph here. It says, as with any potential danger, or just like any other possible danger, prevention is key, or prevention is crucial when it comes to house fires. So yeah, like we say in English, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Is that how it goes?
I think so.
And there's another one. It's better to be safe than sorry. So yeah, prevention is better. Just make sure these things don't happen in the first place. And being attentive and keeping up your home are simple actions that could spare you terrible heartbreak in the long run. So yeah, be attentive. Watch out for any problems. Be aware of those problems before they happen. And yes, indeed, these simple actions or these simple bits of prevention could spare you terrible heartbreak. So here we've got the word spare as a verb. In this particular case, it just means it will prevent you from having these problems. It will spare you. Just like if you've committed a crime and the emperor is going to kill you, you could say, "Oh, spare me, spare my life. Please forgive me for what I've done. I'm so sorry."Yeah,
you hear people begging for their life with that word. We do it sarcastically, too. If someone's telling a story and you think it sounds ridiculous, you could say, "Oh, spare me," which means don't make me listen to this. If you want to spare yourself some terrible heartbreak, take a look around your house and see if your house has already been safeguarded against future fires. Right now, we're going to listen one more time to our Chinese teacher.
接下来的第三点呢，则是要计划你的逃生路线。逃生路线在第三点，第一句话最后一个字 route R-O-U-T-E route 不一定是真正的道路哦，而是你会去走的，从哪里到哪里，经过哪里再转弯的这一种路线，包括像赛车的路线也会用这个 route， 所以要先计划好，而且要了解并且练习至少2种离开自家的路线。如果你的行动不方便，可能会增加逃跑的难度，那么就要让邻居跟消防部门知道。不过我们在第三点当中的第3句看到一个关系子句，先行词是 a physical disability， 生理上的失能，也就是身体的不方便。那么关系子句从后面的 that一直到逗点前面 harder 这个地方，所以这句话其实是，如果你有一种身体的不便会让逃生困难的话，就要让邻居跟消防部门先知道哦。接下来的第4点，还是要保养家庭的设施 Maintain your home utilities Utility 指的就是设备，要怎么样保养呢？其实要定期让技术人员检查电线跟瓦斯管线，而这个技术人员呢 Technician 它出现在第4点的第2句，其实是训练有素而且有特别技术的这一些所谓的技师啦，或者我们称为的师傅。那么定期在这句话当中最后面有一个 on a regular basis regular 规律的 basis 基础，以一个规律的基础，也就是定期的来做检查。当然还要保持排气口、电扇、家电都干净无尘，因为如果有灰尘可能会过热引起火灾。在第4点当中第3句最后面我们看到句子当中有一个逗点之后的 as 在英文当中如果当连接词会有3个意思， because when 如同好像，那么它到底是什么意思，就要根据上下文去做一个推断。在这里 as 的后面因为表示原因，所以这里的 as 是 because 的意思。不过在最后面呢，最后一段我们提到，其实不管是不是火灾跟其他潜在的危险一样，只要提到火灾或者是其他的意外，其实 prevention 预防就是关键。而在最后一段第一句的 as with 它是介系词，表示如同和什么什么一样。不过其实从长远来看，要多留心 be attentive， 还要保持居家的整洁，才能够预防火灾的发生哦。以上是我们的今天的课程。
That's all the time we have for today, everybody. And of course, as always, we hope you all keep nice and safe and do practice some fire safety rules. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
See ya.